All right,
Okay.
everyone. The internet strikes. The internet strikes. It wins. It will always win. The internet is like the sun for me. It's just always going to win. So, Erin, thank you for your patience while I
Yes.
got the internet restarted. Uh, okay, well, this is just what it is. So, the
Yes.
question that I had asked you, and I'm hoping everyone heard it. If not, I'm going to re-ask it just in case. If you had to describe your coaching philosophy in one sentence, what would it be?
I think I'd say train for the season that you're in. Just based off our conversation up until this point, I think there's so many ways people can train. So, and I can give them a lot of different types of training plans, but it all boils down to what's realistic, what can people get done in the grand scheme of their life right now. So that would be my logo
That's, yeah, I was going to say that's so
slogan.
perfect because one of the questions I was going to have one of the questions I wanted to ask you was to describe the importance of seasons for you, because I think it is a theme throughout this conversation of train
Yeah.
for the season you are. So what does training for the season you're in, what does that mean for you?
Like my own training, you mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I am in a season where I actually am trying to go for some PRs. I last year, goodness, what year are we in? So 2022, I was a base building year for me. So just kind of getting back into things. I had a lot of changes in life going on. So I did two marathons last year, and my thought process throughout both of them was, hey, I'm just gonna go out and do the mileage. If I feel good, I'm gonna push it a little bit harder. I just trained myself just getting back into doing like 30, 35 miles a week. But yeah, starting at the beginning of this year, I've been actually working with my friend. Maybe you know her on Instagram, but Run with Coach D.
Mhm.
So she and I live like not even a mile from each other. So we'll meet up and we'll run together. And so she's making my training plans. But yeah, so I'm going for some PRs now. I have a half marathon coming up in 2 months. And then I am going to do CIM this year, actually. So I I applied to be an ambassador, so we'll see if that happens. But if not, I'm still gonna sign up for it, and so that'll be in December.
That's so exciting. So
Yeah.
exciting. I love it. Those are the ones where I'm like, that's whenever I think of ambassadorships, I think of who would I want to represent regardless of whether I'm an ambassador? And those are
Yes.
definitely the places to go. I also really appreciate how you described an entire year as a base building year.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
love that because looking ahead for myself, I have London in April. I'm
Mm.
signed up for Marine Corps in
Oh, you
October.
are. We'll have to
Yeah.
meet up.
Yes,
Hmm.
I was going to say, so we have to meet up. So I'm signed up for Marine Corps and I've been very much so kind of figuring out, is this a year where I want to race at all? And I
Hmm.
sign and I say that because I think it's important for people to know that just because you sign up for a race doesn't mean you have to race it. So
Right.
so I
Hmm.
love that you said an entire year because I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes we're used to thinking about training cycles, like, oh, in this training cycle, in this training cycle. When we look at a year, 1 year, a 12-month period could be full of multiple training cycles. So
Yeah.
to me, it was just like you gave me permission to maybe do the same this year of doing these races as more of a base building, thinking about, even for myself, thinking about those pillars in my life. And also my running word of the year is joy. So even thinking about how can I invite more joy into my running? And I've learned this for myself that my relationship to PRs, very similar to you, it led me to burnout. I didn't stop running, but my love for the sport was definitely suffering. because I was so focused on PRs. I was so focused on doing everything perfectly and like ticking
It's
everything off.
exhausting. Yeah.
It's really exhausting. So I just love that idea. And I hope more people get curious about that too, because when we're thinking about being runners for life, right? If you've got a 30-year running career, you can't be seeking PRs every
Of the
single
time.
cycle.
Right. So like getting prepared physically last year, and then it was a really nice mental break too. So, and now I'm at the point where I'm doing some harder speed workouts and like I'm excited about them. They're not something that's like, oh, like I feel drained by. So I don't think I could have really gotten there unless I took my time to physically get all of my foundations back. And
Mm.
now it's fun to do my speed workouts. So, and then just as context, like last year I was working essentially 2 jobs too. So like trying to launch my own practice, plus working in the hospital. So it was just like a lot of things that I was trying to manage, and I wanted to keep running, but I just knew, like I was signed up for Marine Corps too. I just knew, hey, I don't care how long this takes. I'm just gonna have fun running in my city. So now I finally can dream a little bit more about, okay, like now I feel like it's a season where I want to get faster. So I'm gonna do that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that so, so much. All right. Mental exercises. This is something you mentioned. So,
Mhm.
with the people that you work with and with the things that you're looking ahead to launch, and even I feel like listening to you, I'm like, oh, okay, she's on the cusp of creating something new as well for herself as a run coach. What does that mean for you? Building up the mental side of the athlete, and how does that differ from building up the physical side of the athlete?
So right now, like I said, I've paired up with Amanda, who's a licensed therapist. And so she has taught me so much about what kind of questions to ask. And she's doing we're doing mental coaching for these people. It's not like actually therapy, and we have clear distinctions on where that stops and ends. But so just breathing exercises is usually where she and I will start with people. Um, Having transitions. So this was a concept that like blew my mind that she was teaching me about. But and even in our daily life, when we have all of these tasks, so for you, maybe like you have to pick up your kids, then you have to go home, you have to make dinner, you have to do your work, and so like it's just like a continuous string of tasks that you have to do. So she was talking about transitions, like why are
Mm.
you jumping from one thing immediately into the next thing? Why aren't you giving yourself like a few minutes to just sit in your car before you go on a run? So kind of like building that into people's
Mm.
plan, where we'll say in the coach notes, like, okay, take 3 minutes to do your box breathing and then go into your warm up, and then you can go into your speed workout. So that was a really good example, something that she and I have been working on. Um, how the program works is I'll put up the training plans just as usual for physical side, and then she puts in reflection questions. So
Mm.
on Mondays, she'll put in, and depending on how the conversations go with the athlete, she'll put up a reflection question and then like one action item. So, for instance, if someone feels really overwhelmed, then she'll have them say, like, okay, what version of yourself are you bringing to the run today?
Mm.
Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling tired? So like what version of yourself is showing up? And then from there, it's like, okay, well, how can you use that version of yourself to best fit this workout? So like for instance, for my speed workouts, if I am coming to it already really stressed, it's like, okay, well, what if I can use my stress to lay it all out there during my repeats? So, pushing and feeling really good and accomplished after every repeat, that can help me become a little bit less stressed. So, like getting those little wins in during 400 meter, So, that has been so amazing. And I love the people's comments too. So when they comment and they say, like, initially I felt really tired and stressed, or I was listening to a stressful podcast and I wondered why I was doing that to myself while I was running. And so I got to put that away and I got to just focus on how I felt. And it felt amazing and I felt refreshed after. So it's been really fun. I am learning a lot from Amanda. So it helps me ask questions to people who are not in the mental REM coaching program, but just my regular athletes or patients. I'll be able to ask a little bit more questions or recognize when they're telling me something so that I can help gear their training plan to be a little bit more beneficial for them. So yeah, it's been really, really fun.
This just makes my heart sing, because that's my background is in marriage and family therapy. So that's
really?
what I went to school for. And there are moments where I feel like poop because I'm like, oh, I have this degree and I'm not doing anything with it. And then you realize that sometimes, at least in my case, where it's like, oh, I am using my degree in different things, right? We're having these conversations when I'm talking to people. Very similar for me is that I'm all about empowerment, and how can we, through movement, create that empowerment? So like, there's run coaching, but I also teach yoga. And particularly when I work with women, like one of the things I always focus on is push-ups. Like, let's get you to do a nice, strong push-up. Okay. Because the minute you do a good push-up and it feels good in your body, there's like a transformation of, I'm so strong. That's awesome. I just did something I couldn't do. So I love everything that you're saying, because it is connecting the dots between the physical experience and then the mental experience and bringing awareness to it all. Like you said, the example you gave, you're listening to a stressful podcast. What a gift for that person to realize, wait, I'm listening to this stressful podcast. Why am I doing this while I'm trying to do this run? So I am so excited for you to continue to create this and pass it on to everyone, because the mental is so connected to the physical. Yes. And that's the thing where I say this often, and people, if they've heard this podcast or if they've listened to all the conversations, I've said this before, where running is a place, for me at least, where I either come to confront my biggest cheerleader or my biggest inner critic, because the thoughts that are going on here, sometimes it's not, my body can do a lot, but once my brain goes off and it starts catastrophizing, right? Or even if you're running and you're like, wow, I feel really good. And I noticed that with myself. Whenever I say I feel good, I feel a pep in my step. Like I feel myself stand taller. I can feel that my knees are driving up more. But on those runs where I'm like, I'm tired, I don't want to be here, when I pause, like when I take that moment to stop and check in with my body, it's like, oh, because my brain feels sluggish, my body is being sluggish. So I just love all of this, and breathing exercises are so, so important, particularly for runners, because, it's in general, what do we do when we're running fast? And it's like, oh, but wait, if we can bring in not necessarily the holds on box breathing, but if we can bring in that same level of intention with our breathing, then all of a sudden this freak out spiral over a speed workout, we can actually contain it a little bit more. So I just love this so much. I love where you're going with all of this, because it truly does fit into everything you've said about understanding the season of life of the athlete that you're in and understanding what their training pillars are.
Mhm.
It's such a beautiful, and I say tapestry that you are creating, because that's how I feel when I think of you as a coach, just all the different elements that you weave together. It is, you're creating such a beautiful tapestry for each athlete. And I feel like I'm gushing right now, but just know that I am, because I love what you're doing. And I think it's
Thank
so
you.
important, because running is not just running. It's just not.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I know it's been really, really rewarding. That's why it never gets old. Like, I love helping these people out, and it has been one of my like highlights of my career. So it's definitely why I'm going hard straight into it, because it's something I definitely feel like I could actually do for the rest of my life. Like, it's the first thing that I feel like I can actually sustain. So, yeah, and the people I meet are amazing. Like, the people I work with are so we're all pretty similar, like runners. If you give someone a training plan, they'll get it done, for better or worse. But
mhm.
so being able to help people and work through complexities and understand concepts like from the physical side, obviously, I can't let that go. There's a lot of physical things that I bring to it too in terms of injury prevention. But yeah, this mental side has always fascinated me just with my background, like completely bonking after um, my marathon a couple years ago, and I genuinely wish that I had stayed with it, because I think I would have been an amazing runner. I mean, I do okay, but I still think about the person I could have been if I just had a program like this just to help me kind of like process what I was going through. So that's where it all started. And I'm happy to help people in their running journey. It's really, really rewarding.
Yeah, and even then for yourself, it's also like the season you're in, right? All those experiences before have led to where you are right now. And it's not to say that you cannot be that same athlete that you were a few years ago. You are that athlete, right? Like, she's your
Mhm.
foundation. It's just a matter of getting these pillars in line
Right.
for you, right? Like, even for
Yes.
yourself. And I really appreciate what you said about taking the year as a base building, because this morning after
Yeah.
my run, I felt so good, and I was like, maybe I can go after PRs this year. And then I was like, but no, like, what is a PR? I guess for me, I'm at this phase in running where I'm more curious about what can I do at this age, because I'm never going to have this particular marathon experience again. And I think it's that mental side of running, of reframing it instead of comparing it against all my races.
Right.
What about this race and this moment at this age with these life circumstances? So treating, and again, but it all connects to like my joy, right? Like, how can I bring more joy into
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
experience of something that's really difficult? And it is that redefining, and I think this is part of the mental exercise for all runners. It is redefining what's our relationship to running in the season that we're in.
For sure.
And so it's just so wonderful. All right, final question. Glad we made it here with the internet.
Yes.
The final question I have is, how can we make running more accessible and inclusive?
Yeah, and this kind of you just touched on this, but in the last couple of weeks, I have been thinking a lot more about how to approach this, but making it more accessible throughout the lifespan. So, like I've been having a couple people come to me and say, like, "Oh, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this," or one person in particular, she will be turning 50 soon, and she's like, I don't know how much longer I can keep running, so I'm just going to make the most of it now. And it kind of irks me. So, because it's with anything, like if you prepare your body for it, it will give you what you want it to. So, it's not a factor of, oh, okay, I have this number, this is my age, okay, I can't run anymore. That is furthest from the truth. So like, again, I said, I have a couple patients right now who are in their 80s. They are thriving. They are doing so, so great. And we're working on running. And it's just like anything else. Like I'll go through my process, I'll do my physical assessment. There's going to be things that are off. We'll focus on those and then you can run. So it's just, that's why, of course, we can't ignore age. Like there's just going to be, we need more time to recover. We need to structure the training plan a little differently, have more emphasis on strength training, but it's possible. So I definitely think like as a running community, if, or even just overall, if we can make sure that people know that if you prepare your body for something, then you will be able to keep doing it. You know, barring like accidents and other things that we can't control. But we generally have a lot of control on how we age. And so I really hope that we can be more supportive or have a different like verbiage when it comes to aging as runners. Like I would much rather someone say, okay, so I'm getting up there in years, so I have to train, or I have to change these training tactics, or I have to alter my goals a little bit. I would much rather people say that versus, oh, I don't know how much longer I can do this, or like I'm getting older, so I can't run anymore. So I really hope that people just recognize that if you have someone to help you with training the physical side of things, you will still be able to do your activities and enjoy your life a lot more than if you just gave up because of a number. So that's been my recent pet peeve with some people, but
I think this is where the importance of the mental coaching comes into play, because
yeah.
it's also talk about addressing ageism and what we perceive in that. So like,
Yes.
as I was listening to you speak, I kept thinking of, oh, you know, even so for myself, I turned 39 this year, and I'm already starting to like go down that rabbit hole of what does it mean to be a master's runner, right? Because that's at 40, I believe, is when you're technically a master's runner. So it's even something like that where it's like, oh, I don't feel like I should be considered something different. And yet when you do races or whatever the case is, or the categories of how I'm categorized, it is going to be different. So I love that you said the verbiage that we're using within the running community, because I think there is one, people have to see themselves reflected. So the more diversity in age groups that we get,
Yeah.
it's awesome. But it's also, how are we talking about this? And instead of it being like, and I feel like this is maybe something that you're alluding to, where I feel like you see an 80-year-old runner and you're like, oh, I don't know what they're doing. Wow, that's amazing. And what I'm hearing you say is, we shouldn't say, yes, we should say, wow, that's amazing. But we should also say, okay, what do I need to do to get there? Instead of thinking only certain people can do that. So I love that you talk about the verbiage and being supportive throughout the lifespan, because I agree with you in that we can write ourselves off quickly. And this is why I say the mental coaching that you're doing, expanding it as you continue with these reflection questions of even just like, so why do you think at your age it has to stop? Right? Like, hey, oh gosh, whose training plan was it that I saw that it was, or I feel like I've heard it before where, okay, maybe you're used to running 4 days a week and getting 20 miles in, right? So, but you're older and you can't do that or something, then then spread those 20 miles over the 3 days a week. So you're still getting the same mileage, but you're adding in more recovery. So I think that's an important question here, where again, what you're asking is, how do we reframe how we perceive ourselves as runners? And how do we approach it differently for, again, going back to this, for the season that we're in? So oh my God, that just makes me so, so, so happy that you are considering this and that you're talking about it. And I'm assuming you're having conversations with other people about it as well, because it is important to know. And I think it's really not, yes, empowering, but also so optimistic to have someone like you say, no, 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 I'm a resource here to help you do this for as long as you want. So I think with that, I want to say, it's like, hey, y'all, if you're confused about whether you can keep doing what you're doing, there are coaches like Erin out there that's what she's focused on. She's focused on helping you do that wherever you're at, with whatever body you're in, whatever age you are. I just love it so much. I just love that so, so much.
And like you said, not to discount, it's going to be harder. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be super easy, and it takes a lot of dedication to get yourself to that point. But like you said, it's not like they're magical unicorns running around. Like, they are people who trained for this. Like, they're not lucky. Like, they have put in the work and they're seeing a lot of returns. I I'll never forget, I was running Shamrock at some point. I think it was last year. And to my left, I saw this older man. He was surrounded by like 2 or 3 other people. And he looked so, so great. And then I read in the paper like the next day that he set the Virginia State like record for the fastest marathon of someone in an 80 plus range. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so, so cool that I got to see him. And he also did better than me in that marathon too. So like it was just I get really excited about it because I definitely think that the older community is underserved, especially in the physical therapy world. Like it I hope that it's changing soon, and I do see ripples of that. But we have to get these people up and moving. Like, they need strength and they need physical support more than anybody. So I of course want it to start earlier, because the stronger you are on the front end,
Right.
the stronger you'll be. But I just hate this underdosing that's happening in physical therapy. Like, having older adults doing seated exercises is like is another pet peeve of mine. But anyway, so it's something I'm really, really passionate about. Like, I have 2 parents too who are training for marathons, and they're in their 60s. So like, we're working on strength training. We're working on like figuring out how to keep this up. And it's really, really, really important. So it's definitely close to the heart.
I listen again, as someone who wants to run for as long as she can, to whatever age I'm able to run. Yeah, you give me hope, is what I'm trying to say. You give me hope, and hopefully there are a lot of other people like you that are saying that as well. Because again, and I think it's in general, right? The older we get, the more, I don't want to say we get written off, but I feel like you do get written off, or you start thinking that you can't do the things. And again, what I'm hearing from you is you can. The preparation just might be a little bit different, or it might look different, but you can still do all those things with the right support from people, and also just the preparation of the body, but also the preparation of the mind, of understanding that your evolution as a runner, you are meant to evolve. I honestly, if I can still run 5 days a week, 20 years from now, awesome. But ultimately, it's that reflection of like, what does running mean to me? And can I still have that same definition, that same feeling of being a runner, running 3 days a week versus 5? And so that's where all this mental coaching really comes in, because it is that extension of what I do on the run, how it extends to life off the run, and then it just feeds back into it. It's just, Yes, 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 yes. I hope more people are like you, and I hope people listen to this and then they get inspired to, even just now that I'm saying it out loud, right? Like thinking of when I think of the accessibility inclusivity, I'm always like, oh, there's your next running friend, walking friend is just waiting for you to ask them. So here, talk about even doing something like that of, is there someone that's older in your community that you could ask, and you could be that buddy to get them into the sport. So I just, the generations and the layers here, I love it. All right, final question is, just tell us where we can connect with you, Instagram, website, and I think you've already said some of your events happening this year, but is there anything else that you can shout out for yourself so that we can support and cheer you on in?
Oh, well, yeah, my race is coming up. I have Shamrock Half Marathon, and then I'm gonna do the women's half in DC, and probably a couple other half marathons in DC throughout the year. And then CIM is gonna be my big marathon in December. And connection wise, my email, I think I put in the show notes. So Erin@renwellclinic.com. I do have an Instagram, so I need to be better about posting on that, but that's another place that people can connect with me. And also on the website, I just put up, because we're launching, Amanda and I are officially launching our mental runner coaching program. So that's going to be on my actual Runwell Clinic website. And so if people have any questions about that, then feel free to reach out and schedule a consult call. And yeah, I forget, was there another question?
No, you got
No,
it.
okay.
You
There
got
it is.
it.
Yeah.
You got it. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for your patience with my internet issues, particularly Erin. You are amazing. Any
No
final
worries.
words?
No, that's it. I thank you so much for having me on this. This was really fun. I liked our conversation a lot.
Listen, I loved it. I just like, I cannot wait to be an old lady. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I'm so excited about the aging process because there's people like you that are going to support me. That's where I'm at. All right, everyone. Until next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Stephanie. Thank you.